Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Islamic Pulse Talk Show. We are talking about preparing for the month of Muharram. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Islamic Pulse Talk Show. We're here in the studio talking about preparing for the month of Muharram. Of course, in advance, our condolences to you all wherever you are upon the martyrdom anniversary of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, his family members and his companions as we commemorate His Eminence's martyrdom in the months of Muharram and Safar. In order to talk a little bit about preparing for the month of Muharram, we invited Sayyid Agha Al-Raza. Sayyid Agha Al-Raza, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Islamic Pulse Talk Show.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. It is indeed a blessing to be able to speak about Imam Husayn and his mission. Thank you for that, inshallah.
Jazakallah, thank you so much for taking time out. Again, our condolences to you, your loved ones on the martyrdom anniversary of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, his family members and his companions that we commemorate in the months of Muharram and Safar, which is just a few days in the future. Inshallah, we thought it would be appropriate to kind of set the mood or set the tone or prepare for the month of Muharram and Safar. It's interesting, these certain special moments throughout the year, they seem to come by as quickly as they go by. And so we see this, for example, the day of Arafah, or we see this in the holy month of Ramadan or the nights of Qadr. They come by so fast and then they leave just as fast. And sometimes you're just left with, I wish I would have benefited more from them. I should have done more. I should have learned more. So with that in mind, we wanted to talk a little bit about preparing for the month of Muharram. With that introduction, we hand it over to you in the name of Allah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. Indeed, as Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam famously said, Al-fursatu tamurru murur as-sahab. That opportunities in life, they go by like clouds go by on the sky. So they're moving pretty fast, but you don't notice it. And you think that, okay, they're going to be here tomorrow, the day after. But when you realize that you've already foregone so many opportunities that you could have utilized. It is one of the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has created these spiritual opportunities that they come back every year. So He gives us the chance to maybe make amends for past years as well. But we never know whether we'll be here
in the next
year, right? So right now we are at the threshold of Muharram, the threshold of this yearly institution created by the Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam, an institution that is designed from its most minute things to its major themes to awaken human beings, to be a platform and a vessel so that Quranic verse in Surah Al-Hadid, which says, لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ, so that people may rise up for justice. This objective, one of the primary vessels to reach this objective is Muharram, is the commemoration of Muharram.
Yes.
Indeed, as Imam Khomeini famously said, everything that we have is due to Safar and Muharram. It is because of this mission of Imam Husayn alayhi salam that has eternalized Islam and given it that fortitude. And given that theme, something that comes to mind is that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Inna nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafizun, that we have revealed the zikr, the remembrance, and indeed we are its protectors. And he puts in a lot of emphasis on it. He says, I am the protector, right? One of the instances of this divine strategy, this divine movement within humanity and within history is the great mission of Imam Husayn alayhi salam and the martyrdom of Imam Husayn alayhi salam.
Yes.
And obviously, if you look at contemporary times, if you look at any great divine upheaval, divine uprising in contemporary times, be it the glorious Islamic Revolution, be it the eight-year defense, sacred defense war, be it the sacred defense of the shrines of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, be it the awakening of the downtrodden and disenfranchised masses of the world, be it the resistance in Lebanon, in Palestine, in Yemen, in Bahrain, in all of these other places around the world, be it those glorious personalities who are so extremely magnificent that if you look at each one of them, you would, if you read their biographies, their achievements, the depth of their souls, their spirits, you end up telling yourself that this phenomena cannot be repeated anywhere else in history. But then when you look at the other guy, when you look at Shaheed Arif al-Husayni, you look at Shaheed Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr, when you look at the Shaheed Hassan Nasrullah, when you look at Shaheed Abbas Musawi, when you look at the Shohada of Palestine, when you look at Shaheed Dr. Fathi Shaqaqi, when you look at Shaheed Sinwar, when you look at Shaheed Haniya. And obviously we should never forget that great commander on the field, that man in the shadows, Shaheed Muhammad Zaif, Rizwanullah Ta'ala alayhim. All of them are such legends. And when you re-engineer, you reverse engineer each one of them, their personalities, the first thing that they go back to is the uprising of Imam Khomeini Rizwanullah Ta'ala alayhi. And when you look at the uprising of Imam Khomeini, he says it himself. Everything that I have and we have is from Imam Husayn alayhi salam. So you see this historic movement, the earthquake that happened, the spiritual earthquake and intellectual earthquake that happened in Karbala, how its seismic echo is shaking the entire fabric of history and time.
Even after 1,000 years.
Even after 1,000 years.
So Sayyid, I think with that good, foundation of the movement of Karbala and how it has continued over 1,000 years, and it is creating new, you could say, soldiers of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, new followers of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, and across the spectrum, right? So not only are we talking about Shias, but we're also talking about Sunnis, and in the present day we're finding that you have these soldiers of Imam Husayn alayhi salam that are non-Muslims, as Imam Khamenei calls them, the branch of resistance.
Absolutely.
In the US or in the UK or in Europe or all across the world, where these young people are standing up and protesting for the Palestinian people, the Palestinian cause. These are the soldiers of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, even though they don't know it. It's something interesting. It's a theme that we regularly talk about, how they represent these values, at least in this instance, of standing up for truth and justice and human dignity and these things. But I think, when we're talking about now preparing for the month of Muharram, of course there's some kind of, spiritual preparation or some kind of ideological preparation, but also, to be prepared to receive certain teachings from the months of Muharram and Safar and from the sacrifice and martyrdom and movement of Imam Husayn alayhi salam.
Absolutely. As I said, it is an institution created by the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. It is probably the largest educational platform of holistic education, both spiritual and material, because that is how Islam is. These are integrated with one another. This world and the hereafter are integrated with one another. So you have this grand platform that is being utilized throughout the world. The question is that if we want to use this platform in the proper manner, so that we align ourselves to the mission and the objectives of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, the first question that comes to mind is, what were the objectives of Imam Husayn alayhi salam? Now, inshallah, in the future, if God gives us the opportunity, we should probably have a discussion about the different theories, the different interpretations that exist about what the goals of Imam Husayn truly were. There are several narratives, and obviously the narrative of Imam Khomeini and Imam Khamenei is the most accurate of these narratives. And but that is for another program. What we need to see right now is that given the general consensus that Imam Husayn stood up for justice.
Yeah.
Right? When you look at the Quran, you look at the Sunnah, and then you look at the words of Imam Husayn himself, the history of Karbala, you look at the biographies of the other Ahlul Bayt, and when you look at all of these from the point of view of synergy, right?
Yeah.
When you put them all together, if you put all of the pieces of the puzzle together, you understand that the interpretation and the understanding that Imam Khomeini puts forward and is part of his idea of Islam in Nabi Muhammadi, the pure Muhammadan Islam, that is the most accurate, the most perfect interpretation of what Imam Husayn was seeking to do. And in one word, he was seeking to perform his responsibility in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that responsibility has already been defined in the Quran. The verse of Surah Al-Hadid that we had the pleasure of reciting. So you're supposed to, all of the books, all of the mizan, the criteria, the prophets have been sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ, so that people, the masses in general, rise up for justice. So that is our mission as well.
Sure.
And if that is not our mission, then we need to go back, reassess our roots. Even though we have this natural love for Imam Husayn alayhi salam, and this is a great blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it is obviously not enough. You need to go back, intellectually prepare yourself, learn from Imam Husayn, find out what he's doing. So given this fact that his mission was for universal justice, there was a time 10 years ago, 20 years ago, especially before the Islamic Revolution, when the great mission of especially our brothers around the world, our Shia brothers around the world, was to wake up the masses, right? Because the system created by international Zionism, the Taghut of our time, is such that the entire structure of society, the economic structure, the political structure, the entertainment and media structure, the educational structure, the job structure, all of these structures, all of these societal structures, these mega structures that create a civilization, all of them had been meticulously designed to strip people of their humanity. And what does that mean? Strip them of their natural empathy, strip them for their natural concern for their own long-term well-being as well as other generations, strip them of their natural inclination towards justice, etc., etc. Right? Strip them of their natural inclination towards spirituality, towards infinity, and confine them, imprison them within an egoistic worldview where they are parasitical beings in nature.
It's just like turning them into zombies.
Turning them into zombies. Worse than zombies. Worse than zombies.
They don't feel, they don't think.
They don't think. They're just like lab rats or pieces, cogs and pieces in a larger machinery that has the only purpose is to fulfill the objectives of that machinery.
That 1%.
Or in other words, to be treated like cattle. So your meat, your flesh, your bones, your, especially in the industrial complex, right? Your skin, everything, your milk, everything is processed to be utilized by someone else, to be exploited by someone else. And you are nothing, you are nothing. Even though you think that you're being well fed and it's all very disciplined and you're giving vaccines and you're giving medicine and you're even provided with like spouses. So
utopian society.
A utopian society.
Which ends up in your death.
It ends up in your death and your consumption. It's not even a dignified death, right? So that is the view that Zionism has about humanity in general. Doesn't matter what your ethnicity is, doesn't matter what your religion is. Zionism uses the Jews as cattle, just as it uses the Muslims, the Hindus, the Buddhists, the Christians as cattle, right? So given that society, 10 years back, 20 years back,
the objective was to create
our responsibility, especially the responsibility of the ulama, was to wake people up. Now this is extremely difficult. You know, sometimes you can provide information, you can provide intellectual matter and material, but still you find that there is no emotional response. See, so many, as an example, many of the outstanding scholars of Quranic studies in the last 100 years have been people from other faiths. So they know everything about the Quran. They even they testify to its beauty and its miraculous nature, etc., etc., but they're still stuck in their own bubbles, right? So that emotional response, that upheaval, that spiritual revolution within doesn't happen. It is one of the most difficult things to do, right? In fact, one of the great miracles of Imam Khomeini was that he created this great upheaval within the souls of people. These are words, I'm paraphrasing the words of Ayatollah al-Uzma, late Muhammad Taqi Bahjat, Rizwanullah Ta'ala alayhi, that great Arif, who in one of his speeches and in one of his discourses, he said that without that divine hand, Imam Khomeini could not have created this awakening of the souls. He could have explained the philosophy of Islam, the philosophy of resistance, everything, but it would not. This is something that is divine in nature, right?
So this is what we were supposed to do.
This was
10, 20 years
this
ago.
was an extremely difficult job. And despite the fact that we weren't really aggressively or actively doing this anyway, but even if we had fulfilled our responsibility, there was no real guarantee that such a upheaval would have happened. But now, through the blessing of the sacred blood of the martyrs, this great awakening has happened despite of our insufficient efforts. This great awakening has happened, and we are seeing it live on television. We are seeing these great acts of oppression, as Imam Khamenei just said recently. He said that the mind is boggled. It is astonished by the level of ferociousness and barbarity that the Zionist regime in occupied Palestine is doing. And he gave the example that he said that they are setting up food camps. And then when people come to these food camps, they
shooting them.
They start shooting them.
Murdering them, People that are already hungry.
People who are already starved.
So they're
and
like
normally women and children.
Flocking to these aid
These
centers.
aren't soldiers. These aren't activists of a resistance movement. These are normal people and children. Right?
Starving.
And you see, but this is the dark page of what is going on in contemporary history. Right next to this dark page is the glorious enlightened page of universal and mass awakening. That people within a country that was designed, the United States, the United States is essentially, right from the beginning, you read its history, it is a Zionist country.
It's a Zionist
Even
project.
before Zionism was invented as a terminology, you go back and you look at the kind of worldview that the founding fathers had. Many of them had these strange tendencies, right? So this is a country designed around the idea, especially in contemporary times. They don't even let their own politicians, they don't give them the freedom to speak. If someone speaks against the Zionist narrative,
they take them out.
They are completely
sidelined
and stripped of any importance in society. In the words of that famous professor, he says, "I'm not just unemployed, I'm unemployable." Right? They tried everything that they could to actually starve him to death. Right? And even though he was a son of the grandson of a Holocaust survivor, etc. And there are so many examples of this, we can't really go into it.
And from this kind of cradle of oppression.
Exactly. From the palace of Pharaoh, you see these instances of people who are resembling to some extent the miracle of Hazrat Musa ala nabiyina wa alihi wa alayhi salam, right? So you have this great upheaval.
This light on one side.
Right? So now our responsibility shifts. Why? Because now this awakening has created empathy within the hearts of people, right? Has awakened empathy, has awakened their consciences, right, has awakened their yearning for justice. It has awakened their natural yearning to stand against oppression. Has awakened their natural yearning to give sacrifices. That human instinct that you see, on one side you see material benefits, on the other side you see oppression and injustice, and you say, no, I'm going to sacrifice myself to get rid of this tyranny.
It's really amazing.
All of this potency has already been created, right?
With this march of people that they did going towards the Rafah crossing,
absolutely,
this international march of humanity, or the flotilla,
exactly,
that they sent to
people who have aid. No need, no financial, economic need, no interest,
need at all,
no material interest in supporting. In fact, their careers,
everything is in danger.
Everything is in danger, right? Their families are in danger. The kind of viciousness. Just yesterday, this person who went out of control, I don't know whether this was a false flag operation or not, but the thing that is important for me is that they have cracked down and have arrested his family members. Under what judicial principle in the world is the family of a person responsible for the act of that person?
It's the same
communal punishment. You find institutionalized communal punishment in Israel, and you can see where that culture comes from.
It's all this arbitrary detentions.
Exactly. So, returning to the theme that I was trying to present, this awakening has happened. But this awakening, the things that have woken up within the souls of people, these are like fuel.
Yeah.
They have this great potency, this great potential for revolution, but they are like fuel. Now we know through historical experience that our enemy, international Zionism, one of the great expertise that they have
is to hijack these things.
Is to hijack these emotions, these potentials, and either completely destroy them or put them into another tangent, into another trajectory, into another path, so that it becomes inert, it becomes useless, and starts infighting as well.
Yeah.
So always throughout history, as I was mentioning before, ulama have these two responsibilities, at least these two responsibilities. The first is to awaken the fitra, the nature, the inherent nature of people, so that they start listening to you, right? In many of the exegeses of the Quran, in some of those verses where the Quran mentions tazkiyah before ta'aleem, yuzakkihim wa yu'allimuhumul kitaba wal hikmah. There is one instance in which the ta'aleem comes before tazkiyah, but in general, in the verses where they mention tazkiyah, it is because it is one of those great things that a prophet needs to do, is to awaken the slumbering nature of people. Because if they are zombies, as you said, they won't listen to you, right? They won't listen to you. They'll say, okay, that's very interesting. Okay, let's scroll down to another YouTube video. Let's scroll down. Okay, we've already listened to an IP interview, right? We've already listened to Sayyid Sayyar on the mimbar. But now let's go on and let's watch one of those food videos. Let's watch a music video. It's just intellectual engagement, just something to have fun with. Edutainment, as they say, right? So the first thing you do is to awaken their soul so that they feel emotionally invested in the message that you're providing. Now that has already been done. But now the great crisis is this, that the enemies will flock in and they will try to divert them, will try to divide them, will try to eliminate this threat, as they have done many times over and over again in the past. They did this to the economic justice movement, the 1%, the 99% movement, right? They did it before to the black justice movement, right? They create these micro narratives, they take it. Social justice, we are talking about feminism and women's rights in another set of series. In another series. There we have been talking about how they have taken the idea of justice for women and brought it into another completely deviant arena which has nothing to do with justice at all. So this is the expertise, one of the things that we need to do. Know thy enemy, is
Sure.
to know that Zionism is an expert in this. Only recently, interestingly
Well, say
enough,
it. I hope, because I want you to start to get towards this. I know it's a foundation for preparing. We're preparing to prepare for Muharram, but just because of lack of time and those kind of things. But Bismillah.
Just recently, in an interview supposedly given by an Israeli intelligence agent to one of these American news channels, he testifies and he bears witness to the fact that our power lies in psychological manipulation of the world's masses. Right? And we should realize that this is hybrid warfare. So it's not going to be one strategy, it's going to be layers upon layers of interlocking strategies designed to destroy this movement. Right? So what is our responsibility? As I said, the first responsibility of ulama throughout history, the scholars,
to create awareness. Wake them up. But that's already happened.
That's already happened. Now it is intellectual guidance. And thirdly, is to protect them against the threats of the enemy, the intellectual and the structural threats of the enemy.
I mean, who's supposed to do this intellectual guidance, and who's supposed to do this immunization, of the people against this? I mean, is this the average person who's sitting, on the in front of the mimbar, as we say, pai mimbar in Farsi? Is it the religious scholar? Is it a combination of these people? I mean, if you could comment on that.
In fact, let's begin one step back. Can the academics of the West do this? Like people like Noam Chomsky, etc. People who are like celebrities within the resistance movement in the West, right? People, no, they cannot, because they do not have the holistic and comprehensive intellectual base that Imam Khomeini had. Now, I'm not talking theology here.
Sure.
I'm not talking theology here. I'm just talking, as the Western people say, success speaks, right? None of these people have been able to create a revolution and create a global change.
Or a movement. They've just been, thinkers who have their own opinions.
Right? And they keep changing their ideologies as well, tweaking them, fine-tuning them, which is all right for them as an academic activity. But the experience in contemporary history has shown that if there is a solution that can actually change the world, is the solution that came out of Jamaran by this old man from Qom, as Imam Baqir alayhi salam says in one of his narrations, right? So it falls upon the shoulders of the followers of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, right?
And this is important. Like it follows the followers of the Ahlul Bayt. So this involves everybody. Because sometimes it seems like the scholar will say something from the pulpit in the mimbar and just it's now your problem. And then the people on the ground are like, well, listen, it's not our problem, it's the speaker problem, he needs to deal with this. This is all of the followers of the Ahlul Bayt.
It's not a game of passing the buck. Right? You're not playing ice hockey. The idea here is, in fact, before we go to that, I'm sorry, I'm going to slip this in as well. There is an idea in the West, especially during the 90% movement, the 99% movement. They said that because these movements, unfortunately, the first trap is that they fall into the quicksand of leftist ideologies. So it goes back to dialectic materialism and this strange abstract idea that a pure ideology will come out of the dialectic conflict within the masses themselves. So it hasn't happened for like over a century now, so it's not going to happen anywhere near as well. So again, our idea is that it's going to come out from the followers of the Ahlul Bayt. Now here the scholar needs to play their role, right? And the people listening to the scholars, the community in general, needs to play its own role. And we've talked about this before as well. The first thing that needs to happen is to get rid of this idea of Shiaism and Islam in Nabi Muhammadi being a community religion, a cult, a sectarian cult, where we are only supposed to talk to one another and tell each other how good we are and how Hazrat Lady Fatima al-Zahra Salamullah alayha is going to do shifa and send us to heaven. We need to come out of that mindset and see ourselves as a universal movement, which, as the Holy Prophet said, Ana tabibun dawar, We are supposed to be the doctors of humanity. And each doctor at his own level of expertise. So the scholars are supposed to provide the intellectual framework, what is called the resistance theology, to these people who are now supercharged with these human and divine emotions, but do not have a software of how to deal with these. Right now they are focused, alhamdulillah, on a mission, right? But the moment the enemy comes in and starts corrupting their narratives, they'll start fighting one another, and then
they'll go back to slumber. And so what's interesting, this is the best opportunity that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us to be able to put forth pure Muhammadan Islam, to be able to put forth the principles of the Islamic Revolution, to put forth this movement of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, and we need to take advantage of it. And to redeem
religion in the eyes of people who have been taught decades upon decades upon decades by all forms of media and education that religion is of no use. Alhamdulillah, the school of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, the school of Imam Khomeini Rizwanullah ta'ala alayhi, is that school that shows you, it doesn't just teach you, it shows you how religion can create a better society. Right? So now the ulama need to equip themselves. First of all, the very first thing, the immediate thing that they need to do is to focus on Palestine, to focus on Gaza, to focus on this ongoing genocide and the resistance. They need to teach their people that this resistance is part and parcel and inherent piece of the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam.
And Imam Husayn and Imam al-Mahdi.
Exactly. They need to go beyond those extremely narrow limitations and borderlines of sectarian thought. And who can do this? The scholars. Because the scholars have the authority, the intellectual and rational authority to say that this is an Islamic issue, this is an issue of Imam Ali alayhi salam, of Lady Fatimatul Zahra alayhi salam. This is not an issue of some other sect or some other denomination. So this is the perfect opportunity to break those artificial, ethnic, sectarian, that bubble that we have created around ourselves. This is a great opportunity to do that. So focus on Palestine. Explain to the people why Palestine is a religious issue, just like Salat is, just like Thawm is, just like Hajj is. Right? Many a times, even our revolutionary brothers and sisters around the world, they have this kind of a thinking, an erroneous thinking that we have truly Islamic teachings, and then we have, appendices that are just attached. So like Salat is extremely important, right? But talking about Palestine, talking about the downtrodden, even the downtrodden in your own communities, the African Americans, the Hispanics, anyone who's being subjected to tyranny, subjecting to injustice. Okay, this is something, this is extra, this is like a bonus thing that we can do, and if you're not doing that, doesn't really matter. It's kind of mustahab. Scholars need to explain that fighting injustice is the awjabul wajibat.
It's really interesting because if people don't understand this, what you just said, that fighting injustice is this the most wajib of wajibats, right? The most obligatory of obligatories is to fight injustice. If these people are not mentally prepared, they don't understand that, they're not awakened in this manner, right? Then when the Imam al-Mahdi, may Allah hasten his reappearance, when he reappears, these people will be completely confused.
Absolutely.
Why is he fighting injustice to this extremity, right? So, for example, in one of the traditions is really interesting that apparently the people will say to him that this cannot be the son of Lady Fatimatul Zahra salamun alayha because of the way that he is behaving. This is not, because he's going to fight injustice strictly and with firmness.
If our expectation
and determination,
if our understanding of religion is this, of Islam is this, of Shiaism is this, the Shiaism is simply doing majalis, remembering Imam Husayn in a very superficial manner, crying for Imam Husayn, and then going home and doing whatever else we If it is a compartmentalized religion, if it is not a religion that is pervasive within your life, one. Number two, even when it becomes pervasive within traditional circles, the pervasive nature of it is this, that now I'm listening to nohas and eulogies all day long. Right? I'm wearing certain kinds of clothes and certain kinds of jewelry, even male jewelry. So this is what we think pervasive. No. And all of this, why does this happen? Because we don't ask the Ahlul Bayt themselves. Right?
Yeah.
It's always some corrupt speaker somewhere or the other, whether he knows it or not, whether he's doing it because he's getting paid or not. But I remember like one of my relatives from Pakistan, they once called me up and they said, we've heard from our alim on the mimbar in that city in Pakistan that the people who believe in Wilayatul Faqih are the people who do not believe in Wilayat Ali. So because he created this contradiction, right? Whereas how ridiculous is that? Wilayatul Faqih is a derivative from, is a doctrine that is derived from, and derived by the Ahlul Bayt alayhim, so from Wilayat Ali.
But this is what the speaker does, is they come and they confuse things.
Or they will come in Muharram around the world, alhamdulillah, and this is like, they are like viruses, they multiply. And they will come and they will tell you that there is, Imam Husayn had no purpose. He had no objective. Ma'azallah. Ma'azallah. He had no purpose. He had no objective.
And if he did have a purpose, it was just to get himself sacrificed for the sake of God. It definitely did not have a political aspect to it.
Absolutely, right? So they will...
Just so ridiculous.
And if you, inshallah, we'll talk about this in another session. If you kind of reverse engineer the psychological basis of why people fall for these false narratives, it becomes very easy to understand why they are wrong. But coming back, so Palestine needs to be the focus. We need to explain to our own communities why Palestine matters, right? Why Palestine is the manifestation, a minor manifestation of Karbala in our times. Why, if Imam Husayn was here today amongst us, apparently and physically, he would be standing alongside the people of Palestine. In the words of Imam Khomeini Rizwanullah Ta'ala alayh, he said that if Jesus and Moses were present at this time, they would be fighting Zionism. They would be fighting the oppressors of the world, the hegemonic powers of the world, right? So we need to explain this, and this is no extra effort that we are asking from anyone. We are asking you to present from the mimbar Islam as taught by the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Why have you decided, upon whose authority has a scholar decided that he will only provide people with individualistic, akhlaqi and moral teachings from the mimbar? On whose authority and permission from amongst the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam and their deputies? On whose authority and principle have you decided that you will only provide them with jurisprudential and fiqh knowledge? And that too in the micro fiqh, individualistic fiqh. Upon whose authority have you done that? Upon whose authority have you allowed yourself to dismember Islam from its holistic manifestation of Tawheed and present it as a scattered, chaotic collection of disorganized and mutually clashing doctrines? Who has given you this authority?
And this is what they're doing.
This is unfortunately that
on a
at
huge
least
level.
Some of those speakers are doing intentionally, because we know that we have this British Shiaism going on as well. But many, unfortunately, being sincere people, but they haven't attached themselves to the sources of knowledge like Imam Khomeini, like Imam Khamenei, like Ayatollah Muhammad Taqi Behjat, Ayatollah Jawadi Amoli, Ayatollah Hassanzadeh Amoli, Ayatollah Misbah Yazdi, Ayatollah Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr, and the list goes on. Personal ijtihad.
So say it like, what about, because I kind of want to talk about the people as well, you know.
Absolutely. So coming to the people,
yeah.
now that you have been equipped with this, the other thing that the scholars need to do before we get to the people is that once you have convinced the people intellectually, equipped them with the idea and the intellectual framework to understand Palestine and affiliated issues within the light of the Quran and the Sunnah, you need to equip them with a resistance theology, so that they know the fiqh, the jurisprudence of how to interact with these protesters, with this larger movement. There are so many fiqhi questions that appear there, right? I myself have been asked this question. You find that there are people of different tendencies within these movements. How do we, is it allowed for us to go amongst them? Wouldn't this mean that we are supporting their tendencies, etc., etc.? So many. If the principle has been solved, if you know that there is a principle that you cannot compromise on, in the words of Ayatollah Haj Mohsin Araqi, in the words of Ayatollah Haj Sheikh Waidi, etc., that we have consulted here in Qom, and it is a consensus really here in Qom amongst the Maraji and the top ulama, Ayatollah Shabzindadar, etc. That the principle here is that you cannot compromise upon support for Palestine. There is no taqiyya, brothers and sisters. Let me say this, whether you accept it or not, there is no taqiyya in support for Palestine. Inshallah, we'll discuss this in another day as well. There is no taqiyya in support for Palestine. Right? Once they understand this, then the fiqh that comes out of it for those particular situations will be governed by this principle. So you will never come to a point in fiqh, a point in jurisprudential ruling where you say that, okay, yes, I understand this person is not 100% on the same page ideologically as I am, so I'm going to abandon him. No. Holistically, when you look at Islam, but you need the software for it. People cannot come up with the software themselves.
No, they can't.
Right?
Yes.
The scholars, instead of wasting their time on TikTok and Instagram and creating reels and trying to unfortunately monetize their YouTube videos, they should be sitting down, even coming back to Qum and Najaf, consulting their teachers, creating these think tanks so that they can come up with the resistance jurisprudence. And then when the people, but this doesn't mean that unless they're doing this, the people have no responsibility. The people always have the responsibility. There are certain things that are completely clear. They are completely clear. Even if you make mistakes 30% of the time, 40% of the time, those mistakes are bil-istirar.
They're exceptions. Huh?
They are expediencies.
Expediencies.
Right? They are particular situations. It's like if you are here, if the Imam was present here, and it was your duty to protect the Imam, but you have no martial knowledge, you have no martial training, you're a complete introvert like me, right?
Or like me.
So you can't really fight, but you're going to throw yourself into the arena, right? You'll make 10 mistakes, you'll get punched, you'll get beaten up, but your responsibility here was to protect the Imam, right? So your responsibility right now is to fight the system of injustice, fight Zionism within your own communities, support the people who are fighting Zionism, educate them according to whatever you know. Tell them about Islam, become friends with them. If a doctor says that I'm going to just, if someone is like
has cancer, I'm
not going to touch this person, right? One of the interesting things that just came to my mind, maybe the philosophy, the mystical philosophy behind the fact that Hazrat Isa ala nabiyyina wa alayhi salam, one of his miracles was to cure leprosy. Leprosy is the kind of thing that in medieval times no one would go close to them. Right?
They would throw him outside the city and let
so
him die.
Even if people today have moral leprosy, you as warasatul anbiya, the ulama are the warasatul anbiya. The people who follow the ulama are warasatul ulama, right? It's in the same hierarchy. They are the inheritors of the ulama. As foot soldiers in this great mission,
as doctors,
within your own limitations, within your own qualifications, within your own competence, You need to guide, and through a process, this can't just be a process that you get charged up with, and you say, okay, I'm going to do this, and then you do it for a few days, and then you say, okay, now I'm tired, Muharram is over, now I'm going to go back to my job. And no, you need to come out, even at an individual level, you need to come up with a 5-year strategy, a 10-year strategy. You do it for your small businesses, you do it for your careers. Why don't you do it for Islam? Come up with a strategy that I'm going to start talking to these people. I'm going to start equipping myself with that intellectual knowledge that I need to answer their questions. Right? And then I'm going to one by one. There was this Ayatollah Waizi was talking about this revertee in England. I forget what his name is. He converted to Islam. He reverted to Islam, and then he created a Ponzi scheme. An ideological Ponzi scheme. He said that I'm just going to teach 2 people, and then I'm going to teach them in a manner that I tell them to teach 2 more people. And within the last 10 or 15 years that he's been working, he has created literally hundreds of people who have reverted to, and he only works on people who are outside the community, right? So, and this was a person who did not have much knowledge either, right? He didn't have like generational knowledge of sitting underneath the mimbar and listening about Ali ibn Abi Talib. If you only start talking about Ali ibn Abi Talib to people outside the community, they will fall in love with him.
And Imam Husayn.
This is how, and I don't want to use this word, but I will, just maybe because it might, play on someone's strings. It's incompetence, really. To have someone like Ali ibn Abi Talib, this great champion, unparalleled in history, and not be able to introduce him to people who are dying of spiritual thirst.
It's not just incompetence, Sayyid. I would say it's betrayal.
It's betrayal.
You're betraying that individual. It's like you have the cure.
Which
you have water to save the other person, and you deny that person.
Which other culture has Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Has Ali ibn Abi Talib? If any other culture had one of these champions, they would have filled the universe with his remembrance. And we have at least 14, even if we don't look at their companions and people like Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam, people like Lady Zainab alayhi salam. If we don't even look at these people, we at least have 14.
Jazakallah.
So this is what people need to do. Get into the communities this Muharram. This Muharram should be Muharram for Gaza. And that is something that if we start from this year, and then this becomes a perpetual movement by which we can elevate ourselves spiritually, intellectually, equip ourselves spiritually, intellectually, our scholars in their own rank, capacity, in their own capacity, our community members in their own capacity, and then the people that we were created to guide. And I'm not just using this word metaphorically. It is in the hadith. They say that the Shia were created from the soil, the earth of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. We were created to guide the masses. The Quran says that you are that middle nation, that just nation, that nation upon equilibrium and balance, which has been created to go forth into humanity and guide them. For what purpose? لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ.
Jazakallah. Thank you so much, Sayyid Aghil Reza. A very nice place to at least pause the talk show so that you may go and establish justice upon the earth. And of course, because justice is the only solution to all of the problems that we are witnessing all across the world, is true, divine, pure Muhammadan Islam justice. And we see at the forefront that it is Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei, the Islamic Revolution, that is trying its best to establish this justice and save humanity and at least hold the fort down, as they say, until the reappearance of Imam al-Mahdi, may Allah hasten his reappearance, who is going to bring about this ultimate justice upon the earth. Again, our condolences to you on the upcoming months of Muharram and Safar and the martyrdom of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, his family members and his companions, and very good points that everybody should take very seriously, think about them, and inshallah act upon them.
inshallah.
Thank you so much, dear viewers, for joining us on the Islamic Pulse Talk Show. We were talking about how to prepare for the months of Muharram and Safar. Inshallah, we hope you keep us in your prayers in these months of Muharram and Safar. That's all from us for now. Fi amanillah and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.